Hello, welcome to this new video on the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra, that wonderful collection of teachings on spiritual awakening. Yasyodmeshanimeshabhyam jagatah pralayodayau tam shaktichakravibhava prabhavam shankaram stumaha. So, this verse is called an auspicious verse. It is a way to start any task, and it helps completing it and overcoming the obstacles. What obstacles? Well, the main ones here are vikalpa, or words, because here the task is to express intuition at the level of words. So it is somewhat impossible, and to overcome that, we immerse ourselves in the intuition, in the basic intuition, so that when we speak, we are very well rooted in that intuition, and we do not let ourselves be lost by words. For those videos, for this series, I am using a translation of the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra that I had made and published in French in 2015. It has, for the first time, the Sanskrit commentaries translated, and a number in the appendix, a number of other small texts of the same style and content as the Vijnana Bhairava Tantra. Small verses, each one teaching a way to awaken. But now let me take the Sanskrit back. Here is an edition of the Sanskrit with both the commentaries and let me go again at the beginning. Last time I had explained what is a Tantra, what is reality, and who and what are Shiva and Shakti. A Tantra is always a dialogue between Shiva and Shakti. Shakti asks, Shiva answers, with a few exceptions in the most esoteric of Tantras. But usually it is Shakti asking and Shiva answering. And that dialogue is a form of relationship. And that relationship is creating knowledge. But it is only a special kind of a larger relationship between Shiva and Shakti. A relationship which is creating everything. Reality is the relation between Shiva and Shakti. And who are Shiva and Shakti? Shiva and Shakti are the subject and the object. Shakti is the subject, Shiva is the object. Or you can say that Shakti is the question, Shiva is the answer. Not just this or that question about this or that, but her very being is questioning, is asking, opening up, and being a quest for an answer, for being, for the infinite being. And infinite being is Shiva. So, Kshemaraja, in his commentary on that, after auspicious verses that summarize all that teaching to come, tells us that now the goddess, that is awareness, the subject, the self, or also the body, is in a state of listening, in a state of desire, desire to listening, desire to embrace being, to embrace Shiva. She's about to awaken. She's in the process of awakening. She's becoming aware. Thus, she's speaking, because the goddess is awareness and awareness is speech. She is the desire to awaken, to expand, to grasp what is. And that is the I am. The goddess is the I am, which is the root of all speech and the most basic form of all forms of awareness, of all forms of perception, feeling, thought, memories, whatever. So the goddess said that she has heard everything, and yet her doubt, her want of knowledge is still there. So she has in herself a knot, granthi. She has a knot in her heart, a tight knot of doubt. She doesn't not know, and she wants to know. She's awareness that is turning to the answer, to being, but she is still in a state of doubt. She has still not awakened, because experiences, even when they are many and wonderful, cannot quench the thirst of awareness itself, because that thirst is infinite. It is a thirst for the self. Thus, it is a quest for the self. And then, that's why I had stopped here at the very beginning last time. And there starts a more obscure part of the questions, because she starts enumerating the different tantric systems or traditions. So, kim rūpaṃ tattvato deva, O God, what is the real form, the real essence, the real form of rūpaṃ, both meaning form and essence in a more abstract way? What is the reality, the real substance, the real form of the divine, being God or the goddess, whatever? And so she asks and she enumerates all the main tantric traditions which are a hierarchy, starting from the most basic level to the most secret, powerful one. So here, the goddess does not really start with the basic levels. That is provided in the commentary in a verse quoted before that I had explained last time. The most basic level is the Veda and Vedanta and all the basic systems like yoga, Samkhya, and Buddhism. All that is the outer rim of that mandala of knowledge, if you will. And then there are the Shaiva Tantras, the Shaiva religion, which does not start with Tantra, because before that there is the general Shaiva religion, into which one does not enter through initiation. So this is the Shaiva Dharma, the Shiva or the Shaivite religion. Then there are the Tantras, and first there are the Shaiva Tantras, the so-called Shaiva Siddhanta. Then there are the Dakshina Tantras, the Bhairava Tantra. Then first the Vama Tantras, around the worshipping a form of Bhairava called Tumburu, with 4 goddesses, and very much centered on magical powers. Then Dakshina Tantras, or Bhairava Tantras, around a form of Shiva who's called Bhairava, who is the form here teaching, and who is a roseful form of Shiva, and teaching all the esoteric tantras. Above that is the Kaula tradition, which is even more secret and more powerful, the tradition of the family of Shiva, in which you get initiation into the very family of Shiva and the goddess. And among those Kaula traditions, of which Kashmir Shaivism are parts, is the Trika or the Triad, which is the supreme tradition. And within this, there is the Kali Krama Devinaya, the tradition of the goddess Kali, not to be confused with the well-known Bengali Kali goddess. But here it is another tradition which is considered the most secret and the highest of all traditions, whatever. And then the goddess starts her own lists of traditions. First, there is śabdarāśi Bhairava. It is a worship of Bhairava in the form of the alphabet, the words. Then navātmabhedena. It is a special mantra. All those deities are both forms to be visualized and mantras to be said, to be enunciated. Not necessarily to be recited, but to be said, spoken, uchara. We will come again to this. Then we have triśirobhedabhinnaṃ. It is the text is we do not have any longer, so all that is a little bit obscure, not very, very clear. And then śaktitrayātmakam. This is the 3 Shaktis, the 3 goddesses of the Trika tradition. And then we get from ritual to yoga, which is an inner form of ritual, inner ritual, nādabindumayaṃ, the different stages in the initiation of the pranava, Om, Hum, etc. The basic mantra, Hum, the Bhairava pranava, the Om of the Tantras, the Tantric Om. The Tantric Om is not necessarily Om, it's usually Hum. So when one initiates Hum, at the end there are more and more subtle phases, and the goddess asks whether the divine, the real divine, is any of those stages more and more subtle. candrārdhanirodhikāḥ, and she asks whether it is cakrārūḍham anackaṃ, the unsayable rooted in the wheel of letters. So this is not very clear. And what the commentary tells us about this. So again, to recap, we have first śabdarāśi bhairava. It is a form of bhairava whose mantra is mainly the letters of the Sanskrit alphabet, from A to Ksha. Then we have navātmabhedena. It is another form of Shiva whose mantra is Ham Kshamalavarayum, which has become then a very important mantra. Then we have triśirobhedabhinnaṃ, three-headed Bhairava, whose mantra I don't know, but probably it was a mantra in 3 parts. Then we have the Trika, or some form of the Trika, with 3 goddesses, and then with 3 mantras. The mantra of the supreme goddess is Sauhu. The mantra of the intermediate goddess is Om Maghori Hrihi Paramaghori Hum Ghora Rupiha Ghora Mukhi Bhima Bhishane Vamapiba Piba Herurura Pathum Ha Pat. And then the mantra of the inferior goddess Apara Hrihi Hum Pat. So those are the mantras of the Trika system. Then we have the pranava, Hum or Om or Hrim or whatever form of the pranava there is. And so the commentary here explains the different phases of the enunciation of Hum, more and more subtle, and then about that so-called wheel of letters. He just says, the commentary, that those letters are to be installed, nyasta, on the different chakras of the subtle body. So it confirms that yoga is a form of ritual practice which is done within the subtle body. The chakras basically are small inner and subtle mandalas on which one can install and worship the deities in the form of their letters, root letters. So on each petal of the different lotuses of the different chakras are installed all the different deities of the pantheon, of the yaga, of the deva krama, devata krama. And thus there is a worship in a worship. Outside you worship with flowers. You say the name of the deity and you say homage to that deity and you throw flowers. This is a puja. And for an inner ritual, you do the same, but you visualize on the wheels of the chakras, the wheels that are the chakras, rather, and you worship them like that. And you can offer them different foods. You can offer them mantras or just offering. You can offer them the nectar of the moon flowing from above the head. You can offer them breath. You can offer them alcohol. You can offer them various types of food, perfume, incense, etc. But the commentary does not give us any more details about that worship. Anyway, we have lots of examples in the different tantras. And then she's asking, Kim va śaktisvarūpakam? Or is the divine rūpaṃ is the divine of the essence of Shakti. So what does that mean? Some people have wondered whether that was alluding to the Kala Sankarshini of the Kali Krama, the supreme tantric system. But Shaktisvarūpaka, as such, as unqualified expression, general expression, is not very precise and it's not very clear what it means. Maybe it just means the Shakti as such. Anyway, the expression Shaktisvarūpaka does not come very often in the tantras that I know, so it's not very clear in my mind. And the commentary just says, or maybe the essence of the divine has as its essence Svarūpakam, the Shakti. The Shakti which becomes obvious when all mental complications have completely disappeared, are completely gone. So just the subtlest form of Shakti, of awareness, is it that the divine? The commentator, the commentary here of Kshema Raja does not mention the Kala Sankarshini, and there is no allusion to her as far as I can see. It can be, but it's not very, very clear. And then maybe there is some allusion to the Anuttarātrika. There is a tradition taught by Abhinavagupta, the great master of Kashmir Shaivism, which is a worship of Paradevi alone. So her iconic form is white, resembling Sarasvati, with the text, with the gesture of consciousness, with the crystal rosary, and the gesture of protection. And her mantra, as I mentioned already, is Sau. But all that is not very clear. What is more clear is what the goddess says then. So she asks whether the divine is really any of those forms taught in those traditions. And then she asks, parāparāyāḥ sakalam. All those forms, inferior or intermediary, have parts, sakalam, have parts. It can also mean that they have faculties, indriyas, and thus they have a body. Yes, because in the tantric rituals, they are visualized with a body, like the goddess Para, who is visualized with a white, transparent body, clear like the moonlight. Aparāyāś punaḥ. All those goddesses, all those deities, those forms of the divine, intermediate or inferior, they have bodies, bodies like human bodies or mantric bodies made up of letters. Parāyāḥ yadi tadvat syāt. If the supreme form of the divine is like that, with parts, with a body, with letters, paratvaṃ tat virudhyate, then its own superiority or transcendence, you could say, is contradicted, stands contradicted. Tat virudhyate, because how can it be transcendent and have parts, different aspects? Nahi varnavibhedena dehabhedena va bhavet, for it is not possible to be transcendent and having different letters or different bodies. Paratvaṃ nishkaladvena natadbhavet, the transcendence being superior is not possible through having parts. Sakalatve natadbhavet, the state of being transcendent or superior, nishkalatvena, is through having no parts. Nishkala, having no parts. Sakalatve natadbhavet, and it is not possible when one has parts, like different organs, different parts of the body, different letters of a mantra. This is not possible. Bhairava uvacha, God answers, says, Sadhu, first, it's a little bit out of order here. First, the goddess concludes her question with Prasadam kurumenata. O Lord, make me a favor. Nishesham chindi samchayam. Completely cut through my doubt that I have just said. What is the real form of the divine? And then, Bhairava uvacha, the God says, Sadhu, sadhu, good, good, Priya, oh my dear, Tvaya prishtam, what you have asked, Tantrasaramidam, this that you have asked, Tantrasaram, is the very essence of the Tantra, of self-knowledge, of divine knowledge, of the relationship between you and me. Guhaniyatamam, this is most secret, Bhadri, oh dear, oh good one, Bhadri. Tathapi kathayamite, even though this is most secret, I'm going to tell it to you, because you're dear to me. So he answers, Yat kinchit sakalam rūpaṃ, whatever form, with parts, with a body, with letters, bhairavasya, of the divine, prakirtitam, is declared and is declared famously within the traditions that have been initiated. all the traditions. Tad asarataya vikeyam devi. That those, O goddess, should be reckoned, should be known as being without substance, without reality, without value. Asarataya, asarataya, without value, without reality, without real import. It is somewhat anarkaṃ, without profit also. It is devoid of real substance in it. And it is shakrajalavat, like the net of Indra, like a magic trick. Net of Indra is an idiomatic expression for any magic trick. Maya swapnopamam. It is like an illusion. It is like a dream. It seems to show something, but it doesn't show something. It's empty. Gandharva nagarabhramam. It is just like a city of Gandharva, a city that you see in the clouds, but really it's just a projection of imagination, a projection of the mind. There is no city there. There is nothing. It seems like when you don't look really tight, it seems like there is something, but there is really nothing. Dhyanartham, all that is just for the sake of visualization. Dhyana here does not mean meditation in the way we conceive it nowadays. It means visualization, dhyanartham. It is for the sake of visualization, bhranta buddhinam, of those whose intelligence are deluded, lost, on a wrong path, mistaken. Cakrārūḍham, who are caught in the whirlpool of the agitation, ādambara, the agitation of kriya, of actions, of doing this and that, of business. They are caught in the whirlpool of business. Kevalam varnitam, all that is described only punsam, for the individuals, vikalpa nihatātmanam, whose very self is stricken down with doubts, with dilemmas. Should I do this or that? Will it succeed or not succeed? Will my business succeed or not? Will I get the money? Will I get the power or not? Will I become famous or not? Will I have success or not? All those are vikalpa, choices, dilemmas, blame or becoming famous, success or failure, pleasure or pain, etc., power or misery. Tattvataha. So in reality, and then I will not go into detail, those two verses 11 and 12, really the divine is known of those forms taught within all those tantric traditions and all those religions and all those cultures. Is not the divine taught in the Vedas, in Buddhism, in yoga, in Patanjali, in Shaivism, in any tantric traditions, up to and including the triad and the goddess tradition. The divine is known of those forms, known of those mantras. It is nothing like the Gayatri, it is not the Yoga Sutra, it is nothing like that. And in all that, Hatha Yoga is included because, to my knowledge, Kshemaraja, in his Pratyabhijñā Hridayam commentary mentions the bandhas and the mudras, and he uses the word bandha. So all those asana, mudra, bandha were already known in Kshemarāja's time, that is, in the first half of the 11th century. So all that is included somehow. And Shiva, God, continues. Aprabuddhamatinam hi etaha. All those traditions of mantras and visualizations and mandalas, all that is included, because all that is part of those practices, of those traditions. All those are for those whose intelligence, mati, is not awakened, aprabuddha, is not awakened, they are sleeping. All those who are seeking powers and chakras and yantras and mantras and asanas and rituals and vidhis and kramas and sampradayas and initiations, all those who want to get those initiations with those mantras, the main thing being the mantras, for those are called mantra marga, the path or the way of mantras. All those are just sleeping. They are hypnotized by business, kriyādambara. All those are, I don't know if you have that expression in English, but all those are sticks and carrots. Just to make a donkey move the way you want, you use both a stick to beat him, and a carrot in front of him to allure him to move to go. And so you find here both those, the tantric traditions and all the traditions, all the spiritual and religious traditions, both religion and spirituality are just like that. They are all bala vibhishikaha, those things to frighten children, like scarecrows. And they are matrimodaka vat sarvam, all of it, without any exception, is matrimodakavat. So this is the positive part of it. Just like sweets used by a mother to allure the children to do what she wants them to do. All that, in that way, what is said here clearly is that all religion and spirituality are lies. Just a big heap of lies, more or less sophisticated, alluring lies, frightening lies. If you don't do what I want you to do, you'll go to hell. That is the stick. If you do it, you will go to paradise. That is the sweet, that is the carrot for the donkey, for the children, for the fools, for those sleeping, aprabuddhamati, for those taken in the whirlpool of business, kriyādambaravarti. So this is all delusion. This is all asarataya. This is all devoid of substance, of reality, of real substance, of riches. This is all appearance of riches. This is all the delusion of business. And sarvametaha pravrittirtham udahritam. All that is given as an example, as a model to follow. Udahritam, as an example to follow. Pravrittyartham, for business, for those people who cannot help doing something they need to do. They are action people, There are two sorts of people. Those engrossed in action, in business, and those contemplating. Two different natures. the people of the earth and the people of the sky. The people who are looking just down, looking at their own navel, and the people who are looking at the sky, at the eternal, at nature, at cosmos, the stars and the beauties of the stars. So here the people are engaged, pravrittirtham, pravritti. They are not contemplative, they are not nivritta. They feel they must do something. Even when it is a spiritual, they must practice. They need a mantra, they need an initiation, they need a sweet. They need also to be frightened. If I don't keep the engagements, if there is no samaya prapalanam, if there is no keeping the traditional promises, the rules, the samayas, they feel that something very bad will happen to them. And if they keep them, they believe very good things will happen to them. And they will get many powers, magical powers, and wonderful magical experiences. But this is all delusion for immature people, for children, bala for children, devoid of the real strengths of the self, swabala. Anyway, so what then is the real? What's the real substance if it is not those delusions, those games for children, all those constructions, all those, it's all business. First of all, you buy a small piece free, and then to make it really work, you need something else. And like this, one thing after the other, you end up with an incredibly complicated business. And Tantricism, the Tantras, the traditions, all those traditions of ritual and yoga are very complicated. They start very simple, they look very simple, very alluring. And if you don't get them, you may believe that you miss something very important. But this is all delusion. This is all constructions that are going to get destroyed. Etaha sarvam, all of it, without exception. Tad asarataya vigyayam, all that must be reckoned as devoid of any substance. There is nothing in it. It's all empty, leading nowhere. Some people would say this is for purification, but Abhinavagupta, the greatest master of Kashmir Shaivism, makes it clear that all that is useless because the only power there is the power of the divine, and the divine does not follow those rules because it has created it for the sake of playing. This is just play, children's play, consciousness's play, cosmic consciousness, universal consciousness playing, creating her own rules and getting lost in those. This is just all a game. There is nothing real in that. Nothing real in the sense that there is nothing serious. It's a serious game, but a game it remains. So what's real? And we will conclude today with that, because we have had all the criticism of those traditions of rituals, yantra, tantra, mantra, chakra, and yoga, and all those things. They are useless. They do not lead anywhere. So what is real? What is real is described in the two next verses. What is real is dikkala kalanonmukta, dikkala kalanonmukta, she awareness, she who is freed from the measures, the counting of place and time, the kala. Desho desha visheshini. She has no special here or there. So, vyapadeshtum ashakyasau. So really, she cannot be pointed out. Vyapadeshtum ashakya. Why she cannot be pointed out? Because she is not here or there. She is not desho desha visheshini. She has no special definition. She has no special place. She is not here more than there. Because she cannot be accounted by place or time. She cannot be measured. There is no calculation. She cannot be calculated. She is not starting there or ending here. And then akatya paramarthataha. Really speaking, she cannot be spoken. She cannot be told. She cannot be described. Akatya. She is not an object. She cannot be made an object of speech, of words, speaking. So, if she is not that, what is she then? She is antaha. She is within, turning within, turning attention, turning the gaze inside, turning 180 degrees within. She is swanubhavananda. She is the bliss of self-experience, of one's experience. She is the bliss of one's experience. She is the bliss inside, direct, turning towards herself, enjoying herself, her own bliss, the bliss of one's own experience. As simple as that, the bliss of one's own experience. No initiation, no mantra, no chakras, no yoga, nothing like that. Nothing so complicated. Just the bliss of one's own experience inside. One's own insides, self inside, turning inward. Just that turning. Vikalpolmukta gochara, her realm, the realm of her experience is just freed from doubts. Here, vikalpa doesn't mean thought or concept. This is mistaken translation, forget about it. We'll come back to that. But just here, be aware that vikalpa is not just any thought, it is doubt, choices. Is it this or that? Is it right or wrong? Is it that path or this path? Is it that way or this way? Is it right or wrong? I am doing it correctly or not? This is vikalpa. Forget about this. This is vikalpa. So here, in the bliss of one's own experience, there are no doubts, no choices to make, no asking oneself whether it is right or wrong, correct or not. There is a pure, absolute inner certitude, confidence, assurance. I am absolutely sure this is true. There is no more any doubt. Even if all the masters and the angels were to appear in front of me and tell me, you're on the wrong path, you're mistaken, I wouldn't be moved. I have an absolutely crystal clear intuition, direct, that this is true, that this is the truth, the bliss of my own experience, the bliss of experience, the bliss of experience, not any special experience, the bliss of experience, anubhava matra, the bliss of pure and simple experience. For experience and awareness are the same. There is not the least difference. And this is direct. This is like hasta malakavat. This is like having a fruit, seeing a fruit in one's hand, in the palm of one's hand. And it is even easier, more direct than this, because maybe I am dreaming that I see a fruit in my hand. Maybe there is no fruit, maybe I have no hand at all, maybe I am just dreaming all that. Maybe I am just a brain in a vat. But awareness is even nearer than that, than any other perception, than any other experience, than any other content of experience. For it is experience itself, it is seeing itself. Maybe the fruit and the hand are illusions, but the seeing itself cannot be illusion because there is no separation. Seeing is seeing itself, self-seeing. So it is even nearer and simpler than seeing anything, any content of experience. It is experience itself. It is awareness itself. It is the space of awareness that is awareness, in which everything, real or not, is appearing and disappearing. Yavastha, that state, that very state, bharitakara, which is full to the brim, fullness itself, bhairavi bhairavaatmanaha, is the very goddess of God, the very divinity of the divine. Tadvapuhu tatvataha gyayam. That body, because it is a body, it is real, it is a concrete experience, it is not just some abstract word, it is real, it is carnal, vapuhu, it is both like rūpaṃ, both a form, body, and meaning it is concrete, it is substantial, the very opposite of asarataya, devoid of substance, which was told before of all those practices. Tadvapuhu, it is the very body, tattvataha, the real body. Gyayam, it has to be known as such, as being real, with full certitude, no doubt, nirvikalpa, nishchaya. It is vimalam, it is clear, vimalam, it is transparent, it is obvious, swaprakasha, swayam prakasha, it is obvious, it is known by itself, it is not something to be known as something other, it is self-knowledge, it is knowledge knowing itself. Everything is known by awareness, but awareness knows herself by herself, directly, without any separation. Vishvapurnam, it is transparent and feeling everything and full of everything, in both the passive and active voice. Full of everything. Awareness is full of everything. Everything is appearing within awareness. And everything is full of awareness. Awareness is everywhere, omnipresent, omnipervasive. Try to find somewhere where awareness is not present, not always already present. So, that is it for today. We have learned from God, from the divine, that the divine is not any form taught in ritual practice, in yogic practice. Because really, ritual and yoga are the same. Ritual is an outer yoga, and yoga is an inner ritual. So it's really the same. But none of that can make us experience itself, one's own experience itself. Because that is already obvious. This is already svanubhava, this is already swasamvedana, this is already one's experience, one's awareness. So anyway, it's already there, for otherwise nothing could be there. Not even nothing could be there. There would be nothing present, nothing absent, because awareness is aware of presence and absence both. So it is not something itself that appears or disappears. It's always already present. It's always already clear, because if awareness is not clear, nothing can be clear. Nothing can be obscure as well. So it is already clear, crystal clear, clearer than anything. Transparent, obvious, more obvious than my own present body, more obvious than thoughts, more obvious than any feeling. It is the light in which all those feelings, all those thoughts, all those doubts are coming and going. And itself is not coming and going. It's like space, just present, clear, peaceful. It is not subject to any law, rule, material or spiritual. It's obvious, it's there, it's clear. There is nothing beyond it. There is no second to it. There is nothing to hide it. It has no fear of anything. It has nothing to overcome. That's the main teaching of that Tantra. And then we're going to see what it has to say in that light the next time, next video. So thank you for listening, and have a good day, and meet you next time.